Welcome to Fuck, Marry, Kill, the podcast where we... Psych! We're rebranding, baby! Welcome to Bodies Count, a SisterSong podcast. Pop culture, policy, people. Reproductive justice changes the way you see everything. I'm your host, Simran, and today I'm joined by Tiaret Mitchell, a Black queer multimedia artist based in Silver Spring, Maryland and Brooklyn, New York, who actually did the back piece for Doechii. And we're here to talk about how art intersects with liberation and movement work. Well, Tia, can you start by introducing yourself and your work and just how you got to where you are now?
Hi, everybody. I'm Tiaret Mitchell. I'm a very soon to be 24-year-old independent tattoo artist. I often work out of Brooklyn in Silver Spring, Maryland. And how I got started, that journey is a little illegal, but it's real. So I started tattooing actually when I was like 16, which is why you had asked me earlier, like, how did I start so young?
Yeah, wow.
It's because I did start very young. I feel like tattooing was a very early call for me. Like, I did my first tattoo on myself when I was like 13 in my childhood bedroom. It was just one of those things that really called naturally to me. And then once I was 16, I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a tattoo artist. And my parents were like, this is a phase. Absolutely not. And I'm like, it's not a phase, you know? They were like, oh, God, no, this is definitely a phase. And then, like, now they realize, like, oh, this is definitely not a phase.
Surprise, it was not a phase.
Surprise. Actually, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And you should always trust your 16-year-old when they tell you they want to be a tattoo artist.
What was that first tattoo that you did when you were 13 in your bedroom?
Yeah, it's a really, really shitty stick and poke on my forearm, but I love it. It's actually not the worst, like, given the materials I was using and the age that I was at. It's actually not the worst tattoo, but it's like a tiny little hieroglyphic on my arm that I actually commemorated a few years ago and made, like, a little sleeve out of, like, the little seed that grew into everything that has come into fruition today.
That's so cool. I love that. So I've been on your website, which is lovely, and it's called The World of Amenity, right?
Yeah, I call my like tattoo studio just everything in my world is like the amenity world in a way.
Can you speak more to that? Like, what inspired that vision and the name?
Yeah, I was I was like still in high school. I was 17 when I came up with the name Amenity. I guess it's almost like a A-list for like tattooing at first, but now it's just grown into like a world that I've created. Like the original philosophy behind it was like, I don't know, tattooing feels like an amenity that I'm able to like give to people, but now it's just like a whole world that's like filled with love, amenities, connection to nature, connection to self, connection to others. It's like if I were to create a world, like a dreamscape world that has all my values and ideals in it, it would be like that world, like an amenity world.
I love that you are still using this name that you came up with when you were 17. I feel like that's so special that you are able to like I feel like sometimes when I read stuff that I wrote when I was 17 or whatever, I'm like, oh, I don't want to look at that anymore. That's terrible. I don't identify with it anymore. But it's so cool that you are like, oh, it's been built over 6 years now.
Yeah, it has. And I've thought about changing it like a year or two ago. And I was like, no, I actually still feel like this resonates. It'll always be a part of, I think, the tattooing world for me. It's pretty integral, I think, to my tattooing identity.
Yeah, so I know you said that you always wanted to be a tattoo artist since you were young, but it looks like you have so much other multimedia art. Like, did you always know that you wanted to be doing different forms of art, or was tattooing something that you were like, that's the thing?
Yeah, well, I'm definitely still a multimedia artist. I think tattooing is just one of my more main mediums, and the medium that I feel the most comfortable sharing to the world. I feel like a lot of my other works are just very interpersonal, very vulnerable, very much for myself or for like my direct community. And tattooing is something I feel comfortable like sharing, capitalizing, like branding, and still feels like it's sacred. I've always been an artist. My mom, my dad, they always knew that. My whole family, like I was the artist. I was like the weirdo artist, like doing shows and like death dropping at 3 years old, like doing all that type of stuff, like crazy costumes. There was something new every day. But the first thing I wanted to do, and something that I still do, but it's just more interpersonal, is I've always sung and played the piano. So I grew up like classically trained on piano since I was 3 years old. And I still compose today. Like in all my studios, I've always had my piano. I still compose on piano and I still sing. But when I was younger, that's what I thought I was going to do until I got into my early teenagehood. And then I realized, like, oh, I actually just really enjoy singing and creating music for myself and my like direct community, and not something that I want to turn into a lifestyle and capitalize off of and do all that stuff. Yeah. So no, when I was really young, it was always going to be like musician. And then I became a tattoo artist. Actually, when I became a tattoo artist, my mom was like, I always knew you loved to draw and paint, but I thought you would become a musician. So she was even shocked that like that is the career path I chose for myself. But it makes the most sense. I'm glad I chose tattooing and it chose me.
Yeah.
I'm glad that my other art is still just intimate for myself.
Yeah, I really like what you're saying about like you can have so many connections to different art forms, but that doesn't mean that all of them need to be your career or that all of them need to be the one that you're going to capitalize on. Like they can just be for you or a small community. You can do a little performance, whatever that looks like. Like you can still have that be a really important piece of your creating. But like, yeah, tattooing does allow you to capitalize your art in a way that is probably, actually, correct me if I'm wrong, you're the artist, but in my brain, I'm like, oh, it's probably a more straightforward journey to be doing tattoo art and make money off of it than it would be to like try and be like a singer-songwriter.
100%. And I feel like even the way that I tattoo, like I'm always able to just create tattoos. So when it comes to like music or painting or things that are a little bit more interpersonal to just me, I can't always create a music piece and have an expected timeline for like an album or something. Like it's just something that comes when it comes. And I feel like putting pressure on that type of music or putting pressure on that type of art would just make it not enjoyable for me anymore. So I was like, yeah, this makes sense. Like tattooing at its core is meant to be exchanged and always has. So I feel like that's why it's a very sustainable art form for me to like build business and lifestyle around.
Yeah, no, that makes so much sense. You're right. The tattooing was always meant to be exchanged. So there's a business element of it where as like you get to really enjoy making music if you're not putting that pressure on yourself to have a product at a certain time.
Yeah. I realized that actually around 13, because since I was classically trained, my parents were like really pushing me in piano. And so I was like competing and doing recitals and in like the honorary chorus of my like county. Like I was just really, really being pushed into music, and I got burnt out and I was like, I'm not doing this anymore, and took a little bit of break. And that's when I really, really started getting indulging in my visual arts, and I was like, oh, this is healing and this is fun, and I enjoy sharing this, yeah.
That's how you know you're really an artist. With like, even if you get burnt out on one thing, like you gotta find a different way to get it out. Like you have to find a different way to be creative.
No, literally. I actually was thinking about this the other day. Like, I can never not create. I know that's a double negative, but it's so true. Like, I can never not create. Like, if I'm not creating one thing, I'll find a way to create another. And if I'm not able to do that, I'm going to find a way to do that. Like, I'm always having to be in motion of creation. Otherwise, I go insane. Like, I literally just start going insane.
So what does your process for making that art look like? Like, when are you feeling most inspired? And I know, I guess tattooing is a little bit different in regards to the inspiration piece, but what does that process look like for you?
Yeah, so I'll touch on tattooing and then maybe some of the others, but tattooing, the process first always looks like connecting to my clients. So we always start with like a consult, and I feel like consults, like how we're yapping now is how I do with my clients, like I really like to get to know them. It's really a personal relationship I built to a lot of my clients. A lot of my clients have become my close friends, or we just keep in contact because it's so intimate. I feel like I honor the vulnerability part of tattooing because that's what I'm inspired by, is like the person's journey, their spirit, their essence, their aura. And I take all their journeys that were behind them and the ones that they're trying to manifest ahead, and I just create from what they tell me. If they're inspired by things from their homeland or textures or shapes or colors, like I never really get anything definitive from them. They just will usually give me things they're inspired by, things they want to call in for themselves, the journey that they've had that has made them who they are, and they'll give me a placement and a budget, and I'll just create whatever comes out.
That's so cool. I love that. I want you to tattoo me because I have a lot of tattoos, and I feel like when I was younger, when I first turned 18, I was so excited to get a tattoo that I just kind of ran to the first shop I could find and went from there. And so it wasn't really I didn't have any appreciation for what an intimate experience was. And so it's some grumbly man who thinks that I want a bitch tattoo and there's just no connection, And I feel like as I've gotten older and I've gotten tattooed more by specifically more women, more queer people, more Black and brown people, and people who I identify with, the experience is so much better. And the experience is so much more intimate and connected. And my relationship to those tattoos is different.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like I'm seeing more of a surge of artists like me coming out, but when I first started doing this, there wasn't a lot of artists 6-7 years ago, especially women or queer artists or Black artists even, centering values, centering personhood, centering spirit, instead of just being all right, we're blasting heavy metal, you come in, you come out, you get the job done.
Right.
I feel like for me, for me, one of the first things that I had done when I committed to tattooing at 17 was I went to Morocco to the Berber tribe, which is one of the oldest indigenous tribes of tattooing in northern Africa, and it's tattooing centered around women. It's usually the women who are doing the tattoos, almost like shamanistic practices. I went to this little town called Chefchaouen just to look at indigenous practices of how we used to tattoo, because I feel like for me, I always view tattooing as very ceremonial or spiritual, it's a ritual, it's a practice, and it's not just something that's you do this, you do that. There's an act of ritualism that I think should be honored when you're permanently marking a body. Obviously, there's something in somebody's spirit that needs to be tended to if they're coming to you and wanting to permanently change something so integral about themselves. And so I took it back to the roots, and I was really studying ancient indigenous wisdoms of body modification, scarring, and indigenous wisdoms that we used to carry. And that was something I realized then I really would want to honor in my practice, and something that has always naturally kind of been honored in my practice.
Wow. Where did you find that community? You said you went to Morocco?
Yeah, I was 17.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How did you find that community? How did you find that opportunity to connect with the history?
I don't even know. I think I had read a book on some ancient scarification practices, and I was I wonder if the Berber tribe still exists. And then I found out they did still exist, and I was well, I'm just going to pull up.
I'm going to pull up to Morocco.
See what's going on over there. Actually, funny enough, though, before I went, I had a dream about this little boy. It was a 3-year-old little boy. I just kept having this recurring dream. He would just be in my house smiling. And when I arrived to the village, the same boy that was in my dreams greeted me once I arrived. Yes, and he was just showing me all around this village. I was what the heck? I also kept drawing this marking on my chin just intuitively, with eyeliner or body paint. And when I got there, the same marking that I was drawing on my chin, the months leading up to the trip, most of the tribal women had those same exact markings on their chin. So it felt very affirmed.
Oh my God.
I should be studying. Yeah.
That is so magical. That must have been such a spiritual experience. That is so affirming that you're where you need to be.
Yeah, exactly. And it felt so affirming. My whole entire tattoo journey when I started, it was yeah, this is literally it. It was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I was everyone just needs to trust me. I know I'm 17, but everyone needs to trust me. I feel I know this is what I'm meant to be doing.
Yeah. Can you speak a little bit to
Yeah.
the history of tattooing and how it can be this source of power for Black and Brown folks and Indigenous communities, of course?
Yes, 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 yes. Where do I even begin? I think tattooing has always been so powerful. Number one, it's one of the most ancient forms of art. Like there's like caveman drawings of like people with body modifications, and I think tattooing is something that's very natural and just body modification as a whole. And something that definitely was villainized because historically tattooing is very indigenous. You go to Black, Brown, Indigenous cultures all across the world, and tattooing is something that you will find in most villages, in most tribes. That was at some point an integral part of their history. Tattooing originally was like shamanistic, ritualistic. Tattooers in the tribes were often respected individuals. And it would be like rites of passage, ceremonial. There's like different tribes, they would do body modifications for women when they entered womanhood after like their first cycle, or men who entered manhood after their first hunt, or like it would be levels of tribe organization. Like if you were somebody of the tribe who was respected, you'd have certain markings on your body, or if you were this member of the tribe, you'd have certain markings on your body. I just find that to be very powerful. That it was like always a center of communion to the earth, communion to tribe and community, and communion to self. And then history continues. Tattoos were like used as liberation methods, like in the Philippines. In the Philippines, like women would tattoo their entire bodies to make sure that they wouldn't get like sold into like trafficking, or would be used with other practices like coming to America, transatlantic slave trade, to like remember and remind ourselves of tribal markings from our tribes. Like they were also used as reclamation tools to make sure that autonomy and independence would be integral to who we were. So I feel like there's always been a very radical element of tattooing with connection to earth, community, self, art, and a reclamation oriented around it to make sure that we remember our power, we remember who we are, where we come from, and what we stand for.
The way that I'm taking, my mom has been trying to get me to not get any more tattoos. I'm taking that clip. I'm taking that clip and I'm gonna be like, you believe in the colonizers' view of the world, Mom? I think that might get her. I really think that might get her. Because I remember when I got my first one, I was like, Mom, this is me expressing my bodily autonomy as a woman who has been like
Yes,
put in an environment where I
yes.
feel like I did not have that kind of autonomy. And that sold her. It sold her for a few years. So I think that this could be my next
Yeah.
move.
Yeah, and honestly, same. I think for me, that's even why I started wanting to get into body modification so young. Because, like, a little TMI here, I was, like, very pierced by, like, 14, 15. Like, I had my nipples pierced, I had septum, I had ear piercings, I had a few tattoos. I was just very intrigued with body modification. And definitely at that time, it was rooted in more rebellion. But I think deeper was, like, I wanted to feel autonomous in my body as a growing young woman, you know? Like, I wanted to feel autonomous and have agency, because I was, like, born into a very, like, Christian, old household. My family is, like, my parents were born in Alabama during the 50s and the civil rights, and we're deeply Baptist. And I was, like, young, queer, like, almost 2 generations away from their ideals. And I feel like I really just needed to find something that felt like I could exercise my autonomy and explore who I am without the constraints of religion or like sexuality or selfhood. And I could just feel who I was for myself. And I think that doing it on a bodily level helped me reclaim some of my agency at that very young age. So yeah, definitely. I think that is important and that's valuable. I have clients who are at that stage. I also have clients who are at the stage of like rites of passage, and like everyone will be in like different journeys, which is why we have to, you know, figure out what the journey is. But yeah, all of it's valid and all of it is historically also very real and true.
Yeah, like it's rooted in community. I think there's something so beautiful about being like, as you reach womanhood or whatever it is, if you reach manhood, if you hit these rites of passage in your life, you're going to get a marking that everybody else in our community who has hit this rite of passage has. So you're part of something that's bigger than yourself. That is so so intimate and like, yeah. And I really relate to what you're saying about that autonomy and agency at a young age. I know that like people really reminisce about being a child. I feel like I have a lot of friends who are like, I miss being a child. I do not at all miss being a
I
child.
don't either.
I literally like, I don't know what you mean. Like I get the like lack of responsibilities thing, but like all I wanted as a child was to have agency over anything.
Yes, same. Actually, so same. I'm so glad I finally found someone else who said that. Because I even remember as a child, I would be like, I want responsibility. I want to do things by myself. Like, I'm tired of people always hounding my neck, looking over my shoulder. Like, no, I want to do what I got to do without anyone saying anything behind it, you know?
Totally. And at that age, when you have so little opportunities for that, like I was just like chopping off my own hair, like dyeing my hair. Like I looked bad. I looked bad as a youth. I'll say that. But I did what I had to do, feel in control of myself, you know?
My sanity.
How did people react when you were young? Because that's that's an unexpected amount of body modifications at that age. Did people react well or poorly?
My parents were like definitely concerned, but they were old, you know. By the time I was in my teenagehood, my parents were like suddenly approaching their 60s, so there wasn't so much energy they had to fight at that time anymore. But my brothers were definitely like, "What the hell is going on?" They were like, "Do you not know that she has these?" And my parents were like, "They're not real." Like, whatever. But I also would hide them pretty well, and also since I was like doing well in school, my parents were like, you know, at the end of the day, we don't even really care as long as she's just getting her grades done. Like, they tried to fight me for the first few years, but, you know, once it was like, all right, she's not going to stop, they're like, all right, just get a good grade.
You got to give up at some point. You got to give up.
Right? I'm like, listen, I have the rest of my life to fight this. Like, y'all are going to have to accept it at some point. And they did. They realized, like, okay, I don't think we really have much of a say. So
yeah, you've made a life and a career off of it. So, like, obviously there was something really, really honest and authentic there. It wasn't just rebellion.
Yeah, it wasn't. And I feel like that's also something that, just in general, people should allow young youth to explore is like when they are rebelling, quote unquote, like get to a deeper point. Like, why? Because, you know, the need is coming from somewhere. And for me, it was like actually a deeper truth that was like slowly being uncovered that started as rebellion, but like ended in like personal freedom, career, success, joy, you know, so much came from the act of quote unquote rebellion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we continue with this episode of Bodies Count, let's hear from Team SisterSong. Hey Philadelphia, SisterSong is coming your way on September 24th for On Defending the Body, an event at Philly Cam. Come join us in the Abortion Liberation Fund of Pennsylvania for a night of conversation, community, and cocktails as we discussed how under the tide of fascism, communities are defending the body. Hosted by SisterSong, On Defending the Body is an immersive live podcast experience where attendees get to hear from speakers who are on the front lines when it comes to incarceration, immigration, abortion, and First Amendment expression. This will be a special live episode of Bodies Count, hosted by yours truly, and including speakers from the Pennsylvania Immigrant Coalition, Abortion Liberation Fund of Pennsylvania, and more. This event is a fundraiser for the Abortion Fund. You don't want to miss it. Go Birds!
And now, back to the show. So you speak a lot about the earth and your relationship to the earth as a marginalized person. And I really loved what you wrote on your website. And I'm not going to try and reiterate it. I will let you try and reiterate it. But yeah, I would love to know more about how you see this relationship as central to both your art and your liberation.
Yes, they're so hand in hand. And we're going to get a little historic here, personal and just societal, from like who I come from as being Black, queer, marginalized in America. But yeah, my first connection outside of my parents, because I kind of grew up the only child, was the earth. And I grew up in Mobile, Alabama. For parts of my time in my youth, my parents had a house in Mobile, Alabama. That's where my whole family is from, mom and dad's side, like generations back. Like you can trace it back to the 1700s. and also grew up in the woods of Silver Spring, Maryland. So in Mobile, Alabama, I grew up in the swamps and the bayous. In Maryland, I grew up in the forests and the woods. And so when I wasn't with my parents, I was always outside in nature, like hiking. I had like streams and creeks in my backyard always, or swamps in my backyard, talking to the earth. Like when I was a child, my nickname was Nature Queen, because I was just like, I know how to talk to nature. I was always picking up bugs, always talking to the animals, like always had a very deep connection to my earth. I like credit as like one of my parents. It was like my mom, my dad, and then the earth. So yeah, I think the earth has always just been very naturally a part of my value system, how I connect to the world, how I connect to myself, how I connect to others. And of course, as I grew up and grew older, I realized like earth is also a marginalized being. Like it is also often exploited, often taken advantage of, and like there is an intersection understanding with me and the earth for how much we have to offer, for how much creativity we have, for how much abundance we bring to the world, but how much we have both been exploited, how much we have both been undermined, undervalued historically and presently. And so I was like, there's intersections in like marginalized beings being the earth and marginalized beings being my community, Black and brown people, queer people. And there's a liberation that I think we can learn from the earth and from our communities if they intersect together. There's similarities and there's liberation in those similarities if we continue to commune and center each other in our everyday lives. And so, yeah, historically, Black and brown people were also like forced to work on the earth in like very exploitative ways. And so there's always been this intersection of like liberation being the earth and liberation being the communities that I work with, because they go hand in hand. Like if we're being exploited, the earth is often being exploited alongside with us. Like look at Palestine, look at Congo, look at Sudan, look at transatlantic slave trade. Like there's always an intersection of earth exploitation and people exploitation of marginalized communities. And I think that our liberation goes hand in hand.
Absolutely. I think that's such a beautiful way to look at it. And like, as I'm going to think about that a lot as the ways that the earth is also a marginalized identity. And I'm thinking so much about like what's stolen from marginalized people too, and what's been stolen from the earth in regards to like, just like what you're like, we've been willing to absolutely destroy the earth if it means we get oil, if it means we get the resources that we supposedly need, sometimes want, and the amount of things that we have been taking from marginalized people who have existed in the land, as well as our intellectual property and our knowledge and the way that we have viewed the world and seen the world. And there are so many things that I feel like I'm still to this day always learning about, like things that I thought were invented by some random European guy, and somebody's like, no, they were doing that in China. Like, no, they were doing that in Africa. And I'm like,
oh. For thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Even most of modern day mathematics, like the Pythagorean theorem and shit, that was like niggas in India meditating. You know, that was not some white man back in the 1600s. Like, no, these things have always been very ancient, indigenous, and rooted in the earth. Like they have always been rooted in community and rooted in the earth. Like we come from the earth. Everything we create comes from the earth in some way, shape, or form. It's like the earth is also one of our integral roots to our liberation and to our selfhood. And so we have to honor that. Like there's so much you can find in the earth. There's so much you can find in community, and there's so much that you can find in the intersections of both of those things, which is how we all used to live. I like the way that we just go around modern day exploration and invention, which is so exploitative, and it doesn't have to be that crazy. Like we've been doing it in tribes and indigenous villages for years, for centuries, and it doesn't have to be this way. And I feel like that's another value I really hold in my work is like sustainability as well. Like how can we make sure we're honoring ourselves, honoring the earth, and honoring our communities in a way that isn't extractive or exploitative to any of those beings, because we don't need any more of that. There's already too much of that. We need to start exploring new ways of how to be, how to create, how to do what we want to do that is still sustainable.
Tia, I only have one last question for you.
Oh my God.
And that is, how was it tattooing Doechii?
Oh my gosh. I love Doechii. Oh my god. But yeah, no, it was phenomenal. It was actually a pretty spiritual and connective process. I will have to give you the whole story now.
Please
So,
do.
we had been planning the tattoo for like a year before it, and things just kept not aligning. Like, she would have a tour, I would be on this place, and I wouldn't be there, she wouldn't be there. And so we had taken a little break from like 2021 to 2022 when we first started talking about it. And then 2023 came, and I had this night. It was a weird night. This was when I was living in Baltimore, and my parents' house is in Silver Spring, which is closer to DC. I went to DC for the day, came back to my apartment. I was like going out with friends, like I think to like some music events and stuff. Came back pretty late. It was like 1 a.m. I drove all the way back to Baltimore from DC. And as I entered my garage, I didn't have my house keys, which is very strange because like my garage opener, my house keys, and my car keys are all on the same lanyard.
No.
So I was like, weird. So I called my parents at 1 a.m. I was like, guys, I'm going to have to drive to your house tonight because I don't have the keys to get in my apartment. And they were like, okay, that's fine. So I started driving all the way back closer to DC, and like halfway through my trip, my dad calls me. It's like 1:30 at this point, and he's like, hey, your house keys are on our table. So I was like, what? That makes no sense. Like, I have not been to their house in weeks. And also, how are my house keys just on the kitchen table? So I was like, all right, something spiritual is going on. The ancestors are toying with me right now. So I get to the house, and my, like, childhood home is very spiritually charged, like, very ancestrally charged. So whenever I feel called to come back here, it's always like there's something new coming out of me, you know, like there's something that's requiring me to go in deeper and to connect to like the raw versions of myself and my spirit in a safer space. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to sleep here tonight. Spirit and ancestors are telling me to reflect deeper. Let's see what comes about it. So I sleep, and I have a dream of like an alligator like biting me, and I'm like swimming in this swamp. And I'm like, it's like very intense dream. I'm like, whoa, okay. I get up pretty early to go back to my apartment because I woke up pretty early from the dream. And as soon as I get back to my apartment, I had my work phone on my kitchen counter. And the only text I had on my work phone was from Doechii. And she said, I had a dream last night about an alligator. I think it's time for the taxi.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. That's how it be for me, though. It's like very, very spiritual, very, very, very connective. And yeah, that was our beginning of planning it. We planned it for a few months. I was traveling to Vietnam, and she had some things she was working on in a project. And I was also in a growing space with tattooing. Like, I was taking about a 4-month break. That happened in April, and we didn't do our tattoo until September. And that was like the longest time I had taken away from tattooing at that point, because there was like a need for me to get deeper in my craft. And I was like, I need to step away from my environment to come back to it with a deeper presence, a deeper awareness. Like, that is when it was really like, oh, this is spiritual, this is ritualistic, like, this isn't just me, which I always knew, but it was like, now it's time to really like bring those values to the forefront of your sessions. Like, meditation should be a part of it, earth connection should be a part of it. Like, this isn't just bits and pieces of it throughout the session. This is the session, you know? And so it took a few months. I was like, are you willing to wait? We talked again when I was in Vietnam traveling. I was like at like Buddhist monasteries, just deeply meditating.
Oh my God.
We talked a few times, and then as soon as I had gotten back from like my 5-month break from tattooing, that was the first piece I did. And it was so, so magical. Wow. It was amazing. Yeah,
I also love
brought me to her home.
I was going to say that I love that when you need something, like you needed to learn more about the history of tattooing in indigenous communities, so you went to Morocco. You needed a break from your environment and to be spiritual and meditate, so you went to, where'd you go? Vietnam? Is that what you said?
Yeah, Vietnam. My partner at the time was also Vietnamese, so it was like I was going, meeting like their family and being in these like very ancient pagodas. So it was like very spiritually charged sometimes.
Cool. But sorry, I interrupted you. What were you going to say?
Oh no, I was just expanding on the session thing. Like it was beautiful. Like she brought me to her home, which I'm really grateful for. She flew me out, period. She flew me out.
Oh my God. You got flown out by Doechii, period.
I got flown out by Doechii. Like, business class and all. She treated me so good the whole session. And I made her cry. I made her cry. She was like really deeply touched by some of the things I brought her, and I made her cry, which I was really, really proud about. And I had to tell her the first day, I was like, the only way I can get through this is if I let her know that I'm a fan. Like, otherwise, this is going to be all my
Oh, yeah.
So the first thing she said, I was like, after this out the way, I'm a fan of you. Like, I love your work. And she was like, I love your work. And I was like, yeah, she kept emphasizing, like, you were the only artist that I feel like could do this. And I was like, wow, thank you. So that's one of my top 10 accomplishments of my life.
Top 10? What else could possibly be in that's got to be the top one.
Listen, my life is still just getting started. I have to give room, you know?
That's true. Fine. Let's not assume this is the peak.
Still 23, like.
This is the peak for now, but there's still leaps and bounds to be made.
I'll give room, you know? You're still at the beginning.
Totally. Oh, my God. Well, I'm be 85 telling people the story of when I heard the story of how you tattooed Doechii.
I was really both there together, like. Yeah, it's definitely one of my greatest, like, life experiences. I'm really grateful. And she still loves my work to this day. I really am grateful for that.
That is such a cool experience. That is so cool.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. I love that piece. It's one of my like favorite pieces. That piece was like a before that piece and after my piece. I feel like with my work, like it really challenged me to get raw, and expand and experiment new textures and ways of going about things. So I feel like that also was like a marking piece in my career. Even it being outside of Doechii is just artistic expansion as a whole.
We may have changed the name of the podcast, but that doesn't mean that we still can't play a good old-fashioned game of Fuck, Marry, Kill.
Have you played before?
Oh my God. Yes, and I love it.
Yeah, it's my favorite shit. It's so much my favorite shit that I made a podcast out of it. So
I have the most like controversial Fuck, Marry, Kills. Like it's so bad.
If you want to run it back, you can give me a Fuck, Marry, Kill. We can mix it up.
Listen, I don't want to get canceled on the podcast today, so I'm trying to.
All right, mine's not cancelable, not today at least. So there was one that was cancelable actually in retrospect. But okay, this one for you is the worst tattoos that I have seen recently. So Fuck, Marry, Kill, an ex's name, which is obviously a classic. A Kanye quote that you got like a decade ago, and a hyper-realistic tattoo of a baby.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay.
For a while, that was like my sad activity was looking at like really bad realistic tattoos of babies. I was like, oh God, I'm so sad today. You know what I should do?
Okay, do I choose the baby or is this just a random baby?
Ooh, you know, you can. Do you want to choose the baby?
Yeah.
Then
okay.
yes.
I'll choose the baby. Okay, definitely gonna have to kill ex's name. I have beef with 99% of my exes, and I just would not be able to live with myself if I saw a name every single day on my body. So that's gonna have to be killed. I would unfortunately have to fuck a Kanye quote. I mean, Kanye, listen. Kanye, a decade ago, still a little bit legendary. I'm not gonna lie.
I agree. I'm kind of like, all right, you couldn't have seen that one coming.
Right, like, I couldn't have planned for that. And, like, also, Kanye, like, graduation, college dropout, yeah, that is 100% I would get a quote from there if it was a decade ago. So definitely gonna fuck Kanye quote. And I'm gonna marry the baby. I can choose any baby I want, and I feel like hyper realistic is what gets me because I do kind of. I'm not the biggest fan of like portraits and hyper realism, but if it could be like something cute and I can like add some like I don't know floral elements or something to make it a little more not as cheesy in my mind, I could pick the baby. I'd marry the baby. Yeah.
And what's, like, are we talking about, like, you picking your future baby, or are we talking about, like, you picking a baby off the street? Like...
No, I would choose, like, a baby picture of, like, my mom or something like that. Like, something sweet. Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, because I feel like my issue with the hyper-realistic ones is, like, babies are cute in context, but are they actually that cute? Like when you like take a hyper realistic image of it, it's like you put it in your arm and then your arm moves a little bit and all of a sudden the baby's face is like bleh.
Especially if it's a newborn. Like I don't think newborns are often even that cute to begin with. They're kind of scary looking.
Right, they're kind of scary looking.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, we didn't specify age range, so baby could still be like 2, you know?
That's true.
And 2s are kind of cute.
That's true.
2s are kind of cute.
Okay, yeah. I like your answers.
That's my take. I guess, Loki, I'd ask you then the same. Fuck, marry, kill, ex's name. Oh, wait, no. Mine is going to be harder. Okay. Fuck, marry, kill, ex's name on neck.
Ooh.
Donald Trump quote on text, all caps.
Oh.
Or portrait of your least favorite family member.
Oh my God, that's a good one. Nobody's ever asked me one back. This is thrilling. Okay, I'm killing the Donald Trump quote. That one's got to go. I think I'm fucking the portrait of my least favorite family member. Because it's like, okay, fine, they're still family. Like, it's somewhere in between. But I'm definitely marrying the ex's name. And I'll tell you why. Because I low-key, even though I don't particularly like my ex, I do think that getting a partner's name is kind of sexy. Like, I know. I know.
On the neck? On the neck?
If it was the right person who asked me on the right day, I would do it. I'm so dead ass.
Oh my God. That's kind of insane.
I would regret it almost certainly, but like there have been, like my dream, I need someone to get my name tattooed on them. I was dating this girl for a bit who told me that if we dated for 3 years, she would get my name tattooed on her, and I really considered like sticking it out for the 3 years.
Wow.
But that was a good one. Thank you. Thank you for offering it back to me. That was so beautiful.
Yeah, of course. I had to make it like on steroids too. I was like, okay, we got to make this more challenging.
Thanks for listening to Bodies Count, a podcast brought to you by SisterSong Women of Color Reproductive Justice Collective. Want to get more involved with SisterSong? Become a member today at sistersong.net. Members get access to exclusive benefits, including discounts to conferences, educational opportunities, merch, and more. Sign up and join the movement today.
Yeah.